It's lovely to be here. And because my office at the end of my garden is the messiest place in the whole world, I decided to use an illustration from my latest collection, Heartstones, to kind of be my background. And it's the Flamborough Lighthouse, which is sort of significant to me. I mean, I'm a Londoner, but I've been in Yorkshire for 50 years. And a lot of the time has been spent in Leeds and Headingley and Leeds 6. And then the last 10 or 12 years, we spent an awful lot of time over in the East Riding. And it was in the East Riding that we spent much of the lockdown period, just walking the dog by the sea in the countryside, cycling. And I thought this collection, a collection of poetry about living in a city. And lockdown somehow turned it into a collection about living in the city, certainly, but also the experience of living pretty well full time in the countryside and by the sea. And Flamborough Lighthouse has always been a sort of key bit of the landscape for me. And when I had got all the poems published, all the poems at the publishers of Heartstones, ready to do the editing process, a friend of mine died in April, and she was born and brought up in Batley, and her grandmother was born in Flamborough Lighthouse. And I was asked to write a poem for her funeral service, and we went to it. It was in Maidenhead, and I was stumped completely until one time we were walking along the sand dunes at a place called Wilsthorpe, and looking over the bay of Bridlington Bay, you could see the cliffs at Flamborough, and it was just getting dark, and the lighthouse started to flash. And I thought, you'll know all of this, you poets. That's where I'm going to start. So I'm going to start off with my poem to my great friend Patricia Pittman, which I somehow managed to shoehorn into the collection at the very last minute, but it is quite pertinent. And I'm only going to read 6 or 7 sonnets, but anybody who knows me, I do quite a bit of chatting in between. So I'm conscious of my 15 minutes, and it will be 15 minutes, but they are very short poems. So this is Yorkshire Skies for Patricia. We shared these Yorkshire skies at different times, a West Riding jumble of spire and mill, and much later the eastern coastal dreams, which began for me at Garraby Hill. I'd no idea 50 years ago that each daily walk would now be full of you. The cliffs and beaches where white pebbles glow, each prospect of the wolds, each distant view. And yesterday I saw across the bay, as dusk deepened with the slow dropping sun, you signalling in the last dregs of day. You are the lighthouse flash, not yet quite done. I would give you a heartstone from the beach, but you are fading light, too faint to reach. Now, thank you. A little bit of unmuted clapping there, thank you. This collection is called Heartstones, and it's called Heartstones for all sorts of reasons. The stones of the city, the stones of the East Riding, but also my partner David has a very lovely habit of, when we're walking on the beach, of finding me a heart-shaped stone to give to me. So consequently, every jacket I have makes a wonderful clacking sound of pebbles. And that also gave me the idea for the title of the collection. So here's Heartstones number 2. My jacket is weighted with all the stones you give me when we will walk along the shore. Not heavy, more like a trove of old coins left by the tide. And I love them even more because she gave them. And maybe I think when I'm away from these eastern seas, I'll be reassured by their heavy clink and the memories held by each of these. So, spring has come to the wolds. See it light the hawthorn with a sharp of acid green. The fields are frost after a clear, cold night. Birds wheel as one to a rhythm unseen. And in my pockets, like the rising sap, pebble hearts clatter with soft hammer tap. Thank you. I was very conscious, and I think many of us were, that the world of nature in the last 2 years became fantastically important. The walking into the woods, the walking into the fields, the looking at the birds and the flowers and the butterflies, they gave me hope. And I realized that the scope of my view had become smaller, and I was looking at tiny worlds around me in a very different way. And that's where this poem, Miniaturist, comes from. Miniaturist. I have become a miniaturist for these times. Larger, more expansive views forsaken for a closer look. The list of plants and flowers I examine grows, butterflies and fossils, bees and then snails, dew on grass, bent already with their seeds. Each small, perfect universe never fails to lift me. It nourishes, slakes, and feeds. When I scan the tiny speedwell flower, its blue startling against the cliffside grass makes a slow down world seem even slower and celebrates each second as they pass. May I always be this clear microscope where miracles of detail bring me hope. This one is, I cycle around Leeds all the time, and one of my favourite routes is cycling up Pottermewton Lane from Meanwood to Chapel Allerton. And I always think that one day, this is where I'll have the heart attack, fall off the bike sideways and never be seen again. So this is, and my friend Jackie Fleming, who did the most wonderful cover and the illustrations inside, found this a very funny poem. And I thought, I think it's funny too, but a lot of people at the launch of the Leeds Library a couple of weeks ago sort of backed off when I read this poem. And then a few people did laugh. So here we go. Crows. This might well be my final battleground. A hilly lane in green suburban Leeds, a jousting bike, wheels hardly turning round, heart racing, forehead damp with sweaty beads. It might all end with an electric volt, interior sparking that blows a fuse, fighting for air and then the final jolt, falling off sideways, helmet over shoes. I look at my final resting place, grass long and feathery, wildflowers duck and nod. No one would notice if they should pass. The comedy if no one should find my bod. Fucked off, gone somewhere else, who really knows? Bike stolen and carcass picked clean by crows. Sorry, everyone. Okay. I'm just going to read a couple more. No, I'm going to read 3 more, actually. And then I think it's time for me to bow out and let you other poets to have a chance. This one is called, this book is full of echoes of other people's poems. And I thought every now and again, I'm actually going to recognize that I am a beehive of quotation. If you've got 2 English degrees, you've got so much poetry stuffed into your head. This is called Nearly Going to the Gym with Dylan Thomas. I am now in hard training for old age, and if Dylan weren't late, I would say to him, come on, mate, it's time to drop your rage. Let us go gentle into Virgin Gym. There was probably more than just a touch last night of whiskey shots, less a tasting, more a flow, and promises to join me proved too much, hence my waiting, pacing, and his no show. Finally, a text from Dylan Thomas, go now without me into that good gym. No punctuation, not even commas, and grammar seems to have deserted him. Cut up laters, I'm really sorry, bro. This man's a poet, but would you know? Okay. We are very much dog people in our house, and we had, up until very recently, the most lovely dog, who was a tremendous character. You will have seen me dragging this very large fat dachshund around Headingley, some of you, stopping at every bit of takeaway food that was left from the night before, snacking on unlikely pizzas before you could stop him. But he was a terrific character, and this is for Otto the comedy dachshund. When he was young, he carried feathers home, found fallen in the park in puppy jaws. Those memories of flights, he relished them. They delighted him for no apparent cause. Sometimes now he searches amongst the trees in our garden and scratches at the soil, emerging with an ancient bone he knows he put there once and now would reveal. This canine contraband has a simple charm, for us like treasures found upon the beach. In fondness, I hold out a loving arm to capture him, but he's beyond my reach. I wish him bones and feathers where he's gone, so when he sleeps and dreams, he's not alone. And my final poem was written to go at the end of a chick lit novel that a friend of mine wrote. And my sister, who likes this particular writer called Millie Johnson, was astonished to hear the poem at the end, read by the reader at the end of the book, and it's called Pilgrims for Love. Pilgrims for love, we had traveled alone on separate journeys, crossing foreign seas, no compass to guide, no magnetic stone, just the stars' chilly glimmer in the dark skies. Hearts were at low ebb. There were many storms, searching the unknown with flickering light. Nothing to hang our hopes upon, only dreams, adrift and shaken in an endless night. Then the sight of warmth in another's eyes was our landfall, the promise of a home, a miracle of finding no disguise, the breath of new love and no longer alone. Pilgrims for love, finding the beauty and worth of becoming the other's one true north. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.